With the news, I'm Avenash Ramzam. Thank you for joining us. We start off by telling you that General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Bharat Jagdeo, on Friday maintained that the party won the March 2 elections and said the end of the recount will show this. The recount has been showing the fraud committed in the tabulation of District 4 votes, with figures bloated for the APNU AFC to give it victory. The PPP contends that it won the elections by over 15,000 votes, and Jagdeo said this will be revealed in the ongoing count for the district.
So, for the uploaded SOPs, APNU for East Bank had 21,624. PPP Civic, 22,355. This is based on our SOPs that we uploaded. As I said before, neither GCOM released their SOPs nor APNU. In the statement of recount, on the APNU got 21,614, so they lost 10 votes for the whole East Bank, and PPP got 22,391. It gained 36 votes. So on the East Bank, there was very little different. But what the key point here is that you recall earlier they were saying we put up fake SOPs. Well, the SOPs that we put on our website for East Bank match those of the recount. That was done in the presence of everyone. So it is, the PPP had the real SOPs given to it by GCOM, and it was credible. What was not credible was Mingo's declaration that gave them nearly 8,000 votes more than this figure for East Bank. And we exposed that a bit early, some of that. For South Georgetown, we have on the website APNU 39,780, PPP 6,371. So in the recount figure, APNU in South Georgetown got 39,743. They lost 37 votes. And PPP 6,371. It was the exact same figure. Imagine after this whole recount of 200 and something boxes in South Georgetown, there was no difference between the figure that we put on our website in March and the recount figure, observed by all the parties, APNU there, etc., in the recount. So it was exactly the same for the PPP, but APNU for South Georgetown, APNU lost 37 votes. Then North Georgetown, we in our March SOPs that we got from GCOM that we uploaded had APNU at 22,494 votes, PPP at 10,996. When the statement of recount was done, APNU now has 22,474. They lost 20 votes, and PPP 11,014, 18 we gained. So for this North Georgetown, there are two boxes that have not been tabulated as yet, but we added them. These are boxes 45, 41, and 45, 44, but we add them in to the tabulated figures, so you see for North Georgetown. Now on the east coast of Demerara, we have APNU in our statements of poll, APNU gaining 33,052 votes, and PPP 41,165. And that is, the East Coast is now being completed. So if the pattern we show that almost in exact cases, in all the cases, the SOPs the recount figures are matching the SOPs. So we expect the East Coast to hold the same pattern. In fact, it will, already it's being confirmed. So we will gain about 8,000 votes, just over 8,000 votes ahead of APNU in the East Coast, when all of East Coast has been tabulated. And that added to the 7,000 odd votes that we're ahead already on, that will bring the recount to a conclusion with PPP just over 15,000 votes. So this is precisely what is happening. A lot of people are a little concerned. They called me and said, oh, the lead has gone from 18,000 to 13 to 7,000 some, 7,382 now. And I say to them, East Coast, we won East Coast by about over 8,000 votes. And therefore, that will be added back. But it's the timing of when it's tabulated that matters. And they know it too. That is why they're acting up now, saying that the election should be voided.
Officials of the Guyana Elections Commission GCOM acted in blatant violation of the law and High Court orders regarding the District 4 vote count, and GCOM abdicated its constitutional duty to take all actions necessary to ensure compliance with the law and oversee a proper tabulation process. This is according to the European Union Elections Observation Mission in its final report, which was handed over Friday to the Guyana Elections Commission. Voting and counting were well managed all over the country, as was the tabulation of results in 9 of Guyana's 10 regions, the mission stated, but pointed to how the system was derailed when it came to the tabulation for District 4. It said that after a transparent, largely uncontested tabulation was completed in most regions, the process abruptly derailed into chaos and confusion amidst obstruction tactics by election officials in decisive Region 4. After the District 4 results were annulled by the Chief Justice as unlawful, the EU observers noted that GCOM still allowed the same returning officer to rush through the rest of the tabulation without any transparency, blatant violation of the law and explicit court orders, and to make a second declaration of unverified results on March 13. That second declaration was also not credible, the EU stated. The European Union deployed the first ever full-fledged observer mission for the elections. It comprised 55 observers from 25 EU member states and Norway. We will have more on the national vote recount a little later in the program. Now, 2 flights are likely to be allowed into Guyana every week to repatriate stranded Guyanese, according to the Minister of Public Infrastructure, David Patterson. Patterson told reporters on Friday that flights have been confirmed from New York, Miami, Trinidad, and Barbados, and these will be approved as additional persons register with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a flight, and based on the availability of quarantine facilities for persons who request to be at those facilities.
As you know, there was 300 persons, we have 300 Guyanese we agreed to repatriate. So there will be a flight from, we worked on a flight from New York, there will be a flight from Barbados, there will be one from Trinidad, and there's none from Canada and Miami. So therefore we're looking to bring as many persons home as possible.
In terms of the time frame, any specific, have you put dates to these?
It's determined by the Ministry of Public Health's capacity, right? So I would assume it'll be one or no more than 1 or 2 per week, because obviously there's a limited amount of spaces, even in the private the quarantine facilities. So obviously we want to ensure that should there be a large amount of persons who want to go into the public and free facilities, we have space enough. So no more than 1 or 2 per week, but we'll get everybody going. This is the first cohort. So we set out the person that will be repatriated now, or persons who registered with the Foreign Agency for Foreign Affairs on or before May the 21st, 2020. So obviously if anybody, and we set out these people here, we're going to bring home. So what do we expect is people to continuously register, and then when we reach a certain critical mass, we bring them back in. So it's a continuous process. So this is just the first batch we bring in now. So I would urge everybody to contact the embassy, the consulate in your area. If you go on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website, there are numbers there, their WhatsApp, their email addresses, and just register so that we know you're there, so that we can communicate with you, tell you what's the requirement. There's a form you have to fill online, fill that up, and then obviously when that reaches a critical mass, when I say critical mass, from North America, Jamaica, Cuba, and those places, those are what we call medium haul flights, 4 hours or more. So the size of the plane is the determinant. So therefore, obviously, an Eastern airline or a Caribbean airline takes 160 passengers. So when it reaches that sort of number, when you have that sort of number, we will put on another flight. Persons have to pay. So if it's too few persons, maybe plane is 160 and only 60, I mean, they'll have to share that cost.
We tell you now that no new COVID-19 case has been reported in Guyana for another day. 32 tests were completed in the last 24 hours. Here now is today's update from the Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Karen Gordon-Boyle.
As of today, of the 32 tests done, there are no new cases. Our COVID-19 deaths remain at 12, and the number of confirmed cases, 153. To date, the total number of persons tested is 1,752, with the total number of negative cases being 1,599. In total, 2,528 tests have been conducted. We currently have 77 persons that have recovered, 64 active cases in institutional isolation, 3 patients in the COVID ICU, and 14 persons in institutional quarantine. My fellow Guyanese, I wish to remind you that even though there has been no new case over the past 5 days, we cannot become complacent. If we keep this up, following all guidelines, we will be on our way to limiting transmission and flattening the curve, making the return to normalcy sooner than later. I exhort you, therefore, to do the appropriate thing and let us together defy the coronavirus disease. I wish to give a shout of bravado and kudos to the rapid response, mobile unit, and surveillance teams and the staff at the National Reference Laboratory, whose coordinated efforts are allowing us to track, diagnose, and manage patients in an efficient manner. Now for the global report. According to the World Health Organization, the global statistics are as follows. The total number of cases is 6,416,828, with 382,867 deaths. In the region of the Americas, the total number of cases is 3,022,824, with 168,553 deaths. We continue to plead with the residents of regions 1, 6, 7, 8, and 9 to remain on high alert, recognizing that our neighbors, Brazil, Venezuela, and Suriname, are reporting new cases. In the last 24 hours, Brazil recorded 28,936 new cases and 1,043 deaths. Suriname now has 54 positive cases, with 1 new case in the last 24 hours. And in neighboring Venezuela, there are 157 new cases, with 1 new death. Residents of Region 7, with the new cases in Venezuela and the upsurge in your region, your vulnerability is increased. We are calling on the Tushals and other authorities to ensure that residents do not cross borders and that persons from those other countries are not entering your community. Community members must report any migrant entering your community and anyone who has signs and symptoms, and immediately bring this to the attention of the health authorities.
The Guyana Post Office Corporation on Friday stated that customers awaiting letters and parcels from the US, China, Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Germany, Bahamas, Belize, Costa Rica, Bermuda, Grand Cayman, Brazil, and the Caribbean are affected by the suspension of international mail service. The closure of borders and the suspension of mails by many countries have affected the ability of the Guyana Post Office Corporation to effectively carry out its obligations. Both incoming and outgoing international mails have been affected. This does not apply to mails from Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, and Tortola. The Guyana Post Office Corporation said it will continue to monitor the situation globally and make the necessary adjustments to its service. The director of the National Center for Educational Research Development, NCERD, Jennifer Kamabaj, on Friday morning said that no more than 15 students will be allowed in a classroom when schools reopen on June 15. It was noted that the cleaning staff, security guards, and teachers are being trained on infectious diseases practices and interventions should anyone present with any COVID-19 symptoms.
The Ministry of Public Health would not allow us to have any exams unless lots of things were in place. They were very, very serious with us. When we took our plans, if they were not good enough, we had to go back, as I said, to the drawing board. They have helped us, the Ministry of Public Health has helped us to create protocols for just about everything. Things that we didn't even think that we had to create protocols for. From the gate to the classroom and back. Remember, we are talking about the national exams. We want to assure you that we want our boys and girls to be safe. And that's why we've taken so long to be making our decisions, because we wanted our boys and girls to be safe. They will wash their hands as they enter. Their temperatures will be taken. We have our temperature thermometers. They will also observe social distancing in and out of the classroom. So there are a lot of things that we have been putting in place. And remember, we have had to do many changes because now there will be no more than 15 boys and girls in a classroom. So we've had to do a lot of changes.
At this point, I would like to join Ms. Kamabaj in stating that we hope to get the fullest cooperation of all of our stakeholders. The Ministry of Education, in preparing for the teacher-pupil engagement, will ensure that, and I have stated we have a number of measures put in place, so we will ensure that reading is done at all schools, that we know that schools have been sanitized and fumigated based on the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Health. Sanitization will be done on a regular basis, and this is, of course, a work in progress. Hand washing facilities will be a body temperature test using the non-contact infrared thermometer. Level, a sanitization kit will be issued to each learner. The kit is inclusive of soap, hand sanitizers, face masks, etc. Learners will be given this package during the first week of their re-entrance to school.
What we have looked at is that we are of the view that if we should open in September, we don't know when we're opening, by the way, but if all this COVID-19, it flattens out and we are able to open in September of 2020, we would be looking at that as the beginning of the new school year. However, for the first 2 to 3 weeks, we would be doing mainly revision and try to get what was left out or what the children weren't able to acquire for the third term. We tried to have a condensed curriculum to be done during the first 2 to 3 weeks so that the children would be able to, in other words, catch up with what is expected for them for the new school year. I know some children would take a longer time than others. What we also have in mind is a diagnostic assessment to be done in order to fill that gap.
Meanwhile, the Chief Education Officer Ingrid Trotman on Friday said Guyana objected to the new structure for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, that's CSEC, and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Exam, CAPE, scheduled for July and August. 3 other CARICOM countries also objected to the new structure of the exams, but a majority of countries, 11 in total, voted for the new structure.
Guyana, we objected to the structure of the CSEC examinations, and that is the SBAs and the paper one only. However, our minister objected, the minister from Jamaica objected, the minister from Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Antigua and Barbuda, they objected, but that was only 4 countries. All the other countries, if I'm not mistaken, about 11 other countries, they opted for the modified version of the C-Second Cape. And so they had total majority over the 4 countries that objected. So that is why that plan went forward. The minister made representation fully for Guyana. But as I said previously, this was on a voting basis.
In relation to the C-Second Cape examinations, as indicated by the Chief Education Officer, Guyana did object to the structure of that exams. However, we are in the Caribbean community and it's a regional examinations. The structure of that exam will be the administration of one common paper, which would be the paper 1 or the multiple choice examination paper. Noting that that paper has not changed, it's the same format that has been administered over the years, which is 60 items, and the time for that remains the same. For school candidates or candidates that that do the school-based assessment, that is the other component for their examinations. For private candidates, they will be doing the alternate or what we term as the third paper. Noting that for Guyana, one of the positions put forward by CXC was for the electronic or e-testing modality for the paper 1s. Guyana has opted to the paper-based modality for paper 1s for this year. So our students will be using the traditional paper-based format. Just to give you some figures in relation to the CSEC examinations, we have about 11,998 candidates registered, offering 70,697 in subject entries in 34 subject areas. For CAPE, we have 852 candidates registered, offering subject entries in 4,388 subject entries in 37 subject areas. Remembering that CAPE has units, Unit 1 and Unit 2 in some subjects like agriculture, science, accounting, just to name a few.
We tell you now that a Guyanese father and son from Maikoni on the east coast of Demerara died of COVID-19 days apart from each other. With the number of deaths, the religious community has been overwhelmed trying to navigate funeral arrangements for their loved ones. Jennifer and Zahir Jabbar produced this report from New York. They spoke with Richard David, a district leader from South Queens.
And at the hardest crisis, I get a call from a woman who says to me, I need your help. The ambulance came last night for it was an older guy, so her uncle, and instead they took the son. He was only 24, and he died. The kid that was 24.
Did he have the COVID?
Yeah, he died of COVID-19. And it was so bad in Queens and it was so bad in New York at the time, they came for the father and had to take the son, and the father died at home because he also had COVID. And because a lot of us live in the same households with grandma and our aunts, everybody in the house had COVID-19. And they had to just deal with it.
This is Richard David, a Guyanese immigrant running for State Assembly Senator here in New York. This is just one in hundreds of stories that Richard would have experienced over the past few months as COVID-19 raged on. Some of the problems experienced was the burial of loved ones according to religious customs and the lack of capacity for burial.
In Islam, you have to bury as soon as possible right after someone passes away. And in COVID, in many cases, with the backlog of the funeral homes, with the backlogs of the morgues, and the Muslim community actually had a really hard time finding plots, even available spaces to bury Muslims. And so people began booking funeral homes in Connecticut and New Jersey, and the local masjid here had to start sending people to plots that they had purchased in New Jersey because it was disastrous here.
The devastation from the pandemic and how it affected people's lives was very hard for him to process at the time.
Just in Queens alone, we've lost thousands.
Right.
And a lot of those are Guyanese. I know that because, one, Guyanese are the second largest immigrant group anywhere in Queens. I know that because I'm on the ground. We get the calls, we see the Facebook posts, we see the messages. I also know that because we are in touch with a lot of the funeral homes. We're in touch with a lot of with the religious puja store. They all have to supply religious materials for funerals during this crisis. And so we get a real sense of what's happening, and it's been devastating.
In his capacity as district leader, David has been instrumental in reaching out and helping the community by providing hot meals, groceries, and personal protective equipment. If successful at the June 23rd elections, David could become State Assembly Senator for District 31, which stretches from South Queens all the way to Wakefield.
Hi, I'm Richard David. I'm running for the New York State Assembly in South Queens, District 31.
With this special report from New York, I'm Jennifer Jabbar.
Campaign manager of the APNU AFC, Joseph Harmon, on Friday once again sought to trump up charges against the electoral process, saying the anomalies amounted to fraud. The coalition has demanded that the Guyana Elections Commission address its concerns by the end of today.
Be a challenge, in my view, for the Commission to come to a deliberate and a definitive position where these votes are concerned.
Mr. Harmon, could you say how many votes are seriously compromised? To say that the party, the coalition has been cheated. And does the coalition want the election scrapped based on what you claim to be unearthing?
The President has said this, and we hold to that we will await a decision of the Chairman of the Elections Commission. It was our responsibility as a stakeholder in this process to put to the Commission all of the defects that we have seen amounting to what we deem to be electoral fraud. And so there are many of them. Process is not complete at the end of this phase. It's a 4-stage process. So after the count is done, there is a report which has to be submitted by the Chief Elections Officer. That report has to be deliberated upon by the Commission itself, and once the Commission finishes its deliberation, the Chairman will make a declaration or a statement.
Do you have an idea of how many votes, have been seriously compromised?
It's many. In fact, when we were looking at the qualitative figure of the total amount of the number of cases that we've highlighted, you're talking close to 90,000 votes. That is what we are saying. Close to 90,000 votes would have been infected by that. But let me say further that yesterday I asked the Elections Commission to respond to concerns which were raised by us and that affect all of Guyana concerning these persons who are overseas have voted, the dead voters, the disciplined services votes which they haven't told us anything about. And I said that we have to get a response from the Commission by the end of today. As you well know, this phase of the exercise will come to an end very shortly. And so we must have a clear position from the Commission on that particular issue.
Meanwhile, leader of the Liberty and Justice Party, Lennox Schumann, said that he viewed the demand of the coalition for GCOM to address its concerns by the end of the day as a threat. Schumann spoke to reporters outside the conference center.
So what we've seen is an updated, accelerated approach by the APNU AFC to want to discredit the entire system, the entire recount process in itself. And I say that against the backdrop that Mr. Harmon, and I sat inside and I watched his press conference right here, just about an hour ago, where he openly issued a threat to the Guyana Elections Commission, where he said that we are requiring of the Guyana Elections Commission that certain actions be taken. The implications of those words are very, very dangerous. Obviously, if you're requiring something, there must be a consequence to it. If you request something, it is up to the Guyana Elections Commission whether they choose to answer that or not. I'm not going to speak on behalf of any political party except the Liberty and Justice Party, whom I represent. And I want to say that I have absolute confidence in the Commission at this point to execute their mandate and to go through this process and ensure that they operate within the confines of the law.
And the Ethnic Relations Commission, the ERC, on Friday congratulated the Guyana Elections Commission for a well-run recount process. Member of the Commission, Roshan Khan, gave the statement.
On behalf of the Ethnic Relations Commission, I must say that this recount that's going on, we stand very proud the way it's being handled. It's being done in a most professional manner. as one who has been involved in counts and now in tabulation, the ROs and the POs, whoever they are, and the supervisors, the general staff, even to the police, and all the staff in general at GCOM has been most professional and cooperative. So I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Ethnic Relations Commission to say thank you for this recount. Thank GCOM for making this possible after a period of what appeared to be confusion and annoyance. There seems to be a complete calm, peace and goodwill and harmony for which we of the Ethnic Relations stand for.
When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bird reports along with sports. Stay tuned.